Well, hello and welcome to today's video. Today's video we're returning back to the AU Ford Falcon. Last video we made about this AU Ford Falcon, we changed the pressure switch down here on the steering rack that has a habit of leaking. Today we've developed a new problem with this car, and the problem is the high pressure hose on the power steering has started to leak. This is a very common problem in Ford Falcons and Ford Territories. The problem is they use, in this series of cars, what happens is this hose here starts to leak, but it's not actually the hose that's leaking. What it is it's the hydraulic fitting in here that starts to leak. So the cost of replacing this entire hose setup is quite expensive. So there is, in most cases there's nothing wrong with the hose. The problem is at the movement points. So here at the coupling, you can see here this moves around. You can tighten this up as tight as you want. It will not stop the leaking. So what we've got to do is we've got to cut this nut off. This nut is actually a hydraulic fitting. It's one of these. And all that really goes wrong with this hydraulic fitting is the O-rings inside the fitting. You can see that in here, this has got a brown hydraulic fitting, O-ring. Inside it there's a few other black O-rings, and it's just simply those O-rings fail after a number of years. And this is all we have to change, is this. We don't have to change the entire hose to stop the leaking issue. But it is a bit of a bastard of a thing to get off. I mean, getting this thing off is really quite difficult. We're going to have a go at it with the grinder. The key is to cut the nut, separate the nut enough so that you can get the aluminium hose fitting inside out. So what we've got to do is we've got to cut this nut deep enough that we don't cut on this pipe fitting inside. So you can see here, this one's got quite a lot of play in it, and of course when you're driving the car with this much play on the high pressure side, it's going to have fluid just pissing out everywhere. In fact, there we go, it's already pissing out everywhere on my finger. So I'm led to believe there is actually a special tool that you can buy that you can put inside that releases this hose from the nut. But I've searched high and low. I can't seem to find anyone who's got one of those special tools. If you know of it, just write in the comments below, and we'll make a follow-up video on doing this the super easy way with the proper tools. So I'm doing this today with the tools that I've got. So let's get into it. Alright, actually before we get into it, I'm just going to show you on my Ford Territory where the same part fails. So Ford Territory, you've got the barometer. The high pressure switch that leaks is in a more convenient location. It's like the engineers got to the point and put it right where you can easily grab it. But that nut that we're changing on this pump as well is right down right here. We can get it in focus. So that's the point there. There's a lot more play on the Territories than on the Falcons. You can see here all the movement, and of course the coupling on the Territories wears out a lot faster than on the Falcons. Alright, so just going to get in here with the shifter. It's Just going to undo this nut and pull this hose off. And with the Falcons, you can pull this off, and you can pull this off. That gives you a bit more room to get in there. Alright, so that's given us a bit more room to get our hand in. Let's get the shifter in there and put it on. And push it. You only got to undo it, and then you can pretty much just get in there with your fingers and just pull the rest of the coupling off. Now, it's probably advisable to put a bucket underneath because fluid will come pissing out of the pump. And but I'm going to do a full fluid change on this while I'm at it, so yeah. Alright, so let's get that nut off. I think that's hitting the power pot down the bottom. No, not quite. It might pay to put a bit of a cover on top of the alternator just to prevent any fluid from draining into your alternator. We'll just hit it with some degreaser later on and clean it up. Alternators are pretty easy things to fix, so I'm not too fussed. It's very basic electronics 101 alternators. We'll just drain this and then we'll move on to the next. Alright, so we've just got that draining off, we've got the fitting free. I'm just going to stuff a bit of a rag in the end of it so that we can prevent getting stuff in the line, metal shavings, dirt and all the rest. And then what we're going to do is we're either going to get the Dremel and we're going to make a cut along the length. I'm going to have a go with my grinder first to begin with. I'll do that off screen because I don't particularly want to lose fingers. So we'll come back in a minute. Alright, so I've cut into it with the grinder. You can see the big cut I've made into it. There, I'm just going to do the rest of the cut using a Dremel with a smaller cutting bit on it, and we'll get in there and we'll see what this pipe looks like on the inside, because that's what I really want to have a look at, is to see how it locks into the nut mechanism, and I'm sure all of you guys want to know how it locks in as well. Alright, so we've got quite a deep cut in the nut there. I'm just going to use the Dremel now to take it down the final step of the way. One thing I didn't realise when I was doing it is the down here on the pump where the hose goes in, you probably want to put a bit of a rag in there to stop any shit from getting inside it. So let's just see how we go. made it through there at that stage. You can see there the O-ring has just started to come out. So we've finally cut through and we've reached that O-ring that's stuffed. I'm just going to stick a screwdriver in the end of this nut now and just reef it open, and then hopefully that should just make the coupling come off. Right, so get that screwdriver in there. It's just simply a case of tearing the fitting apart. Oh, I see what's happened. So we've gone through at one point where the O-ring is. So this bit here is cut. We just need to cut this bit off the end up here, and then hopefully it should just tear out. Oh, nicked that bit. Bugger. Alright, so what I've ended up doing is I've put a cut down this side of it. I've put a cut down the other side of the nut as well. And it's just a matter of getting in and breaking the nut open. And then we can have a look inside and see if we've stuffed it. Thing's still a little bit hot after all the cutting. Come on, you're almost there. Alright, and there we have it. That's the fitting off. That was the O-ring sitting there that was causing all the leaking. Let's go around now and have a look and see if we've done any damage to the pipe. There's a little snap ring on here. I'm pretty sure that's got to come off because there is one inside the new fitting, and that's what this snap ring here is what locks the pipe to the fitting. So, put a little bit of a nick on it there. Let's check around the whole thing. Oh, go away, mosquito. Yeah, I think we've gone alright, so I'll just get that snap ring off there and get the new fitting, and we'll stick it on. Alright, so just having a look at this fitting. What you've got is one O-ring that's supposed to go in there. There seems to be an inner O-ring in here, and then you've got that copper locking ring which locks the thread to the aluminium pipe underneath. So in theory, if you were to really reef it quite hard, you could actually just pull it off. Yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, so it's just those two O-rings inside this coupling that fail, and that's what causes this hose to leak quite heavily. So there's the new one. It's just simply a matter of cleaning this up, get this copper ring on, and then you literally just push it on and it locks and it's done, and put it all back together. So I'll just do that off camera and we'll get back to it. Alright, so I think I'll just clean this coupling up a bit. I've just got a bit of Jif. Just going to put a bit of Jif on a rag. Just making sure we're not getting it inside the pipe. We don't really want Jif going through our system. I'll just clean that fitting up, make it as smooth as possible so the new O-ring doesn't get eaten up. If the metal's really coarse, the aluminium fitting. Oh, for those people from America, you're aluminum. Aluminum, God. Aluminium. Alright, so there we go. That's all nice and smooth. We put a tiny little bit of a nick in it and we're cutting it off. It doesn't look like it's all the way through, so I'm not really going to worry about it. We can see the mark here where the O-ring rides on the tube. So the O-ring rides right here where my fingernail is, and the little nick we made, fortunately, is between where the O-ring is. I think we've got the locking pin here. I think there's another O-ring that rides along this little line right here. So fortunately we got that nick right between. I'm not too fussed. This is a car that's pretty much on the downward slope. I've got no plans of restoring it. Well, I just drive it because it's a 6-seater and I can get the family around. So now we've got that snap ring off that came off the old coupling. It's just a matter of just pushing it on and it's locked and it's in and it feels nice and tight. And that should stop the power steering from leaking. Yeah, man, that was easy. Get the nut off's the hard part. So it's just a matter of just get a rag and clean off over here. And I'll just stick it back in, tighten her up. So that whole job's taken, what's the camera say? 20 minutes. I've had to pause and fluff around and do all sorts of other things for your viewing pleasure. Oh, I look forward forward to eating that rooster one day. Oh, he's gonna be so tasty. Because he's a right real pain in the butt right now, I tell you. Alright, it's tightened up. It looks tight. It's made to swivel, that's the whole idea of it, so when the motor's rocking, the hose stays stationary. This is the failure point of all of these on this line. Previous Fords, they don't use this coupling, they've just got the pipe going straight into it, and they rely on the pipe to twist rather than the coupling to twist. So we'll roll it up now and get the levels right, and we'll see if that fixes the problem. Oh, and of course we're going to go over to the alternator with some degreaser just to get all that fluid out that I stupidly poured into it. Alright, well that's pretty much it for today's video, so I hope that helps you out. The whole idea of these videos is just to help people out with their day-to-day, luckily, chores they're going to have to come against. I may make that coupling available on my website to purchase if I can get some in at a reasonable price, and I can sell them for a lot cheaper than having to buy a whole new hose. I'll put a link in the description below as to where you can buy the coupling if I do get them up for sale. That'll get your leak fixed for, you know, whatever it'll be, under 50 bucks probably, so much cheaper than a hose. Alright, so yep, that's it. Thanks for watching, hope that helps out.